welcome everybody to our masterclass today. Thank you for showing up. We're going to wait just a few more minutes to see if we have more people joining us. We had actually a lot of interest, so we have had 67 people signing up for today's masterclass, which is great. But people also figure out that these things are recorded, which we are doing. And of course, we are going to share those recordings with our people after the masterclass. So today, I welcome you to the Entrepreneurial Blueprint. This is actually something which is very close to my heart because I have a big why in my life. Since I can remember, I've been driven by the desire to actually make things happen. So I'm this person who needs to see that things are happening. I'm not happy with a piece of paper and a theoretical outcome. I need to see it come to life. So basically, impact is what's fueling me. So impact is my fuel. And I have a very strong intuition, and I use my intuition as my compass. I never see things. Typically, I don't see things the way they are. I always see things the way they could become. That kind of drove me into starting my own business 21 years ago. A bit of background, maybe. I'm coming from a family of entrepreneurs. Well, I didn't only learn about business, I actually lived it. And it's really interesting because if people go, oh, entrepreneurship, you know, that sounds so grand. But entrepreneurship actually, for me today, is a game of persistence. We have to celebrate the wins. We have to build the muscle of resilience. And I think the last point is actually the most important one, this muscle of resilience. And business typically is a road paved with both opportunities, but challenges likewise. If you're an entrepreneur, you will know that challenges come very unexpected typically. And this journey demands massive determination. So that's basically something I learned. And what also supports entrepreneurs is resourcefulness and the courage to actually master this road paved with sometimes stumble stones. And so quickly, after I've actually been in the corporate world for a decade, I took the leap really into the unknown 21 years ago when I founded my first company. And I tell you, it has been a very wild ride. It was, curiosity and a relentless drive to actually make things happen with this deep passion to bring ideas to life. That's what fueled my journey. And this is why I have done a lot of different things in my life. So, but I cracked the code. And that code I wanted to share with you, and I will share with you over the next 3 days. We don't have massive amounts of time, but I'm going to give you a very nice pop kind of, not a deep dive, but a semi-deep dive into some of the things which I consider have helped me and supported me and still support me on this journey being an entrepreneur for a long, long time. And if anyone knows the statistics, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people found businesses actually do not master it for a long time. So typically, I cracked the code and I decided to not follow convention, but I am always challenging the status quo. I think ahead and I do reimagine what's possible. And with that, I'm seeing the bigger picture and I do spot hidden opportunities. Now, unconventional thinking, and that's something, that's training, I guess, is something that allows you and allows me still every day to push the boundaries and drive this sustainable success I do experience. But I don't only experience it in my own business, I do experience it with all the people I work with. Let me just admit that the nice lady here. What I love the most is helping businesses to scale strategically. So my mission is not to only support growth, but to amplify impact. I have to tell you that where others often see obstacles, I see opportunities. And I think it's really, really important because businesses with purpose have entire industries evolve and communities benefit, and of course the world can change with good businesses. So anybody here who is in business or wants to go into business, if you have a very clear purpose and a clear why, this is great, because actually your business might be the next one helping this world to get just a bit better. So I want to dive right in. Let me look at my script here. Oh, yeah, one important point. What I'm experiencing too is a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs work on their business, in their business, and not on their business, but they do want to work on their business. Now, what's the difference? Working in your business means you're basically in the grind, in the everyday grind of working in your business. So you're involved in a lot of nitty-gritty stuff. You hardly have the time to work on your business, meaning looking at the bigger picture and really pushing those boundaries and saying what actually is possible. So I will dive right in, starting with day one. And day one has a very nice program, because today we are going to first talk about aligning your business identity with actually revenue boosting strategies. What does that mean? Every business has an identity. Even though some businesses I start working with tell me, oh, we don't have a business identity. Every business has one. It's very important to create that business identity purposefully. So what is actually a business identity? A business identity is more than just a brand. It is something your business stands for. It's not only a tagline, it's the foundation of your business success. What do I mean by that? If your business identity is crystal clear, you will be able to make everything else fall into place. But that means you have to be clear on your business identity. And I think it's really, really important that you understand you have to align the identity with the clients you want to serve, right? And you want to drive growth. So the business identity actually is not about only the service you provide. It's about the transformation you're able to achieve. Meaning, you have to really think about, why does my business exist? Why is it here? What is it useful for? What? And there's a Simon Sinek said it so nicely. Start with the why. So what is your driver? Why does this business exist? Why did you start the business? Why did you take this business over? Why do you love this business? Why does it make you skeptical sometimes? Why is it challenging you? And why do you still drive it so hard to success? So start with your why. Why does my business actually exist? It's quite a fundamental question, because a lot of people start with what. What should we do? The what typically follows the why. So become very, very clear on the why. And then you have to move outside of yourself. So basically asking yourself, what are the problems I am solving for my clients? So your business must be a solution. So your product, it's not just a product or a service. It's not a thing. It's not the pudding you're offering. It's actually, what solution do you provide with the business you do or you have? So, and then ask yourself, who do I actually serve with that? Right? So you're providing a solution. To whom do you provide this solution? And why is that so important? Because if you talk about the wrong value to the wrong client, it's not going to lead to success, obviously. If you talk about with the right value to the right client, you're bound to have success. And I'm going to go a bit deeper into that, because that's part of this today's training. We have to focus on getting the right clients, and we have to become very, very clear what are the problems we're actually solving. Last but not least, you need to understand your competition. I just had a talk before with a client who wants to enter a market in a highly competitive market, and you have to understand the competitive landscape. So what's around you? right? And you don't have to be fearful of that, but it does help you to get your head around it. What makes me different? And if there's no difference in product, there might be a difference in service, or there might be a difference in communication. I'm not saying that your product needs to be absolutely unique, but the way you actually propose it to a client in terms of serving him with the right value, the right client with the right value again, you're going to propose him something unique, which your competitor potentially doesn't do. Let me make that a bit clearer. So instead of saying I'm a business coach, right? You could say I help overwhelmed entrepreneurs simplify their business operations so they can scale with ease. Very different, right? What is it doing? I'm a business coach, maybe I am. That's not important. What I really do is I help overwhelmed entrepreneurs simplify their operations so they're able to scale with ease. And that's another big point. I'm not interested in supporting people to try and build scale with highly complex systems. It's really important that the systems are easy to apply. Not all the systems are easy to apply, but they should, at the best, in the best world, they should be easily applicable to the business and easily trainable to the people. So that's really something which is important in this context. When you do this right, the person across from you would go, oh, wow, this actually is for me, right? Then you know you have the right audience. If the audience tells you this is for me, or if somebody in your audience or some potential client tells you, oh, this is for me, you did everything right. So that means you created a value, you spoke to the right person, and you actually made sure that you stood out from your competition. Now, how does that actually translate into money, into firm cash, right? Now, your brand identity must align with your pricing and your business model. For example, if you want to charge premium pricing, your branding, your messaging, your positioning, they need to match that pricing. If you are marketing yourself at a certain level, that's the level you can price. So make sure that your marketing, the language you use, the way you position yourself is actually in accordance with the business identity and with the value you create. So if your audience doesn't see your worth, they won't pay your worth. So that's really an important point to understand. So if you did everything right, if your audience understands your worth, then you're going to be paid what you're worth. Now, if you're, for example, a high-ticket service provider, your branding typically should be sleek, authoritative, and results-driven. So in my world, I always work with very results-driven people. So the only way to actually communicate with these people, including you all, is to make it very clear that I can help my clients create the results they're striving for. If you are more of a community-driven brand, the identity needs to be more approachable or relatable or engaging. In the consumer goods world, you would say if you want to sell a pet food, you have to be very approachable, very emotional, right? Whereas where you're in the fintech world, you need to approach people with a very clear mindset of facts and figures. So you have to adapt, again, your messaging and your communication to the audience you're trying to sell to or you're intending to sell to. And the pricing has to be in line with that. Now, I mean, there's this, everybody knows that, right? Unique value propositions. Now, this becomes a bit tricky. If you look at it in a highly competitive world where we have a superfluous amount of, coaches, mentors, teachers, offers online, business gurus, also product, right? So where we have lots of products and we have the choice. So the formula to actually create a unique value proposition, and it's not a unique product proposition, pay attention, it's a value proposition, is you have to be very clear. I help who, right? Who do you help? solve what problem by doing it how differently, right? So that's basically your formula. So to give you an example, you could say, in my case, I help busy entrepreneurs automate their operations so they can scale without burnout. Now, what do we do with that, right? I help very clearly busy entrepreneurs. So I'm not helping the entrepreneurs who are basically not busy, even though most entrepreneurs are very busy, to automate their operations. So basically, it says already that we are doing something that's going to create ease and take pressure off the organization so they can scale without burnout. And that's something that's so necessary in today's world. We need to work with people so that they can scale and that they can do it without burnout. That is highly, highly important, because I have to do a lot with people, and I see a lot of people actually burning out in today's time, especially in the current economy. So this is the formula you can use. Fill in the gaps. I help. Who do you help? Solve which problem? By how doing it differently. How do I do it differently from my competition? So your unique value proposition should end up with a client going, with a potential client going, I need this. There's somebody there who understands me. Wow, he's talking my language. He knows my problem. And hell yes, I do need that. So here's a homework you can do for tomorrow. You can write one bold business statement that clearly will define your brand, right? You can say, who do I help? So be very clear who you help, which problem you are actually solving, and how do you do it differently from anybody else. You can test it with some of your friends, and if they go, oh yeah, hell yes, I need that, then that's you're on the right track. If not, tweak it. So keep tweaking it, because this is typically not happening in one go. You have to have a few trials, and then you will see. And that's also important if you do advertising, for example, through Meta or something. You have to be very clear what problem you're solving. If you're not clear, you will not have the people showing up to actually ask for your services or for your help. If you want to stand out, you cannot fit in. So that's another one I want to share with you. What does that actually mean? If you're afraid to kind of stand out, to be seen, to become visible, you're not going to be seen in today's world. We are all like, we attacked you with millions of emails. We all get so many, emails and messages, and then there's social media, and there's all of that going on. You have to try and stand out in order to be seen. So a bold brand statement in one sentence will help you. And that bold brand statement should be in social media, should be on your website. And then you can ask 3 of the people of your target audience, what does my business actually do? If they struggle to tell you back to you what you are actually doing, you have to refine your messaging. That's another tweak you can use. So basically, okay, somebody asks you, what are you doing? And basically, you're going to, get rid of your message. And they're going, ooh, I'm not quite clear on that. Then you have to refine your message. Because here's something to really recognize. A confused audience never buys. Let me repeat this. A confused audience never buys. A confused audience is good, though, because if you speak to their problem, why they're confused, then they're getting rid of that confusion. And suddenly they're clear on what you're providing in terms of value, and then they can buy. But if you confuse them with your brand messaging, they will potentially not buy. Your messaging is actually the bridge between what you offer and what your customers perceive. So it must be clear, but more importantly than clear, it must be emotionally engaging and solution focused. What does that mean? You remember how I said you need an ideal client? So typically, your message needs to be focused, customer centric. So it needs to be focused on your potential client. You have to speak to their problems. You have to use a language that mirrors what they're already thinking. And frankly, guys, I have had the experience, especially in the consulting and mentoring world, use simple language. Do not use massively complicated language. It takes much more time to actually digest what you're trying to address. And the most important part of the customer-centric message is address the transformation they will experience. Now, it's not enough to address their problem, right? You have to address their problem and how you are transforming with whatever you're offering their problem to a solution. So let me see. So in my case, right? So I would go to an entrepreneur and say, you have got the vision, but turning that into sustainable success and continuous success feels overwhelming. So just, scaling a business is not just about working harder. And I don't really like that word. It's so often misused, but it is, in fact, about working smarter, meaning making bold strategic moves and stepping into a real mindset of a business owner who's working on their business, not necessarily in their business. So my transformation is I help ambitious entrepreneurs like you all potentially break free from the daily grind to streamline their operations and build businesses that scale effortlessly. That's the transformation I'm providing. So it's very clear I'm talking to ambitious entrepreneurs again. They're breaking free from their daily grind. We streamline their operations and we build businesses that scale effortlessly. So that's exactly how I'm working with all of my clients. And that's the transformation my clients are looking for. Now, you could also use storytelling as a connection. How does that work? So storytelling is, here's something I can tell you. So I was in a business, which was a big distribution business for a consumer goods company. So basically I bought the goods and I sold the goods. I had 50 people on my payroll that time. And this big supplier of mine, it was one supplier. I was their exclusive distributor. So I had an exclusive supplier. I was their exclusive distributor. They put me into a position, in a negotiation position, where they basically stepped back from a commitment in marketing funds, which had already been spent, and it was a 6-figure number, right? And that 6-figure number would have killed my company. So by that time, I kind of went, this is crazy, right? So this is not what I'm here for. This is not the business I want to run. So for me, that story actually brought me into a very different level. What I started to do is I started negotiating with them. I figured something out. They actually figured something out with me. But from that moment onward, I took a very clear decision. I took the decision to say, I am going to be my own master of my own destiny. And in that combination, I wasn't. I had a lot of my people on my own payroll, but I had one supplier, and there was an interdependency, which was not healthy at all. Why am I telling you this story? Because by negotiating with this supplier, what happened is they took me as one of their key advisors, right? And that kind of brought me because I started thinking outside the box. I pushed those boundaries. I actually pushed my way from being their exclusive distributor into somebody who was working with them on some new projects. And that's was my entrance into the consulting world, into the mentoring world. And this is where I thrive. And so if you use that, you have things happening in your life, you have stories in your life you can tell, and people will totally resonate with that, because all of us have I have lots of stories to tell. All of us have lots of stories to tell, and people like listening to those stories because that makes you guys experience me for what I am and who I am, right? So it's not only the theoretical stuff. We need to make sure that our audience can connect with us. That's this emotional bond I was talking about. The other key point is you have to make messaging about them, not you. Still, when I work with companies, and especially the sales teams, they go out and they talk all about, my product can do this and my product can do that. And, they talk about features. It's not relevant. Features are marginally relevant. What's really relevant is you have to make your conversation, also the sales conversation, every conversation about them, not about you. Typically people, who will remember my credentials after this first half an hour, right? Which I gave you at the beginning. I don't know. Is it really relevant? So it's not really something people remember. What they care about, what typically a person cares about is, can me, solve your problem? This is why you have to put them into the center of anything you do, also in your conversations with them. So how do you do that? You have to absolutely know your ideal client's pain points and desires. And then you speak to those. So what are they struggling with? How does this struggle potentially make them feel? So in my case, they feel overwhelmed, they feel madness. I put that in some of those emails. An entrepreneur today he feels madness because there's so many moving parts. And what is the ultimate outcome this person really wants? Is it more money? Is it more time? Is it to save costs? Is it to take the next growth leap? Is it to more confidence? So you have to really think about talking to those pain points directly. Like you could say, which I don't do, but I teach social media marketing, right? What does that do? It doesn't tell you anything. But if you tell somebody, I help overwhelmed solopreneurs attract highly paying clients through stress-free social media strategies, that actually works, right? So it's a very different world to actually, sorry, my clock. Oh, it's already 5 o'clock. It's going to ring again, by the way. So that's a really important point. So you have to talk to them about their struggles and about what they need, right? Your audience needs to find themselves in your messaging. So again, I'm repeating myself. They have to say, oh, she's talking about me. Wow, right? Now, the other thing is use emotionally engaging language. A lot of those people I'm working with, especially if they're in the finance world, they're always into facts. Facts are good, but facts are telling and emotions are selling. So there's a very big difference between presenting with facts or with emotions. So make sure that you use emotions when you're selling something. Because people make buying decisions based on emotion, believe it or not. And they justify them with logic, right? So why would anybody who has a nice TV buy a new Samsung TV, right? Because they feel that this TV will make them feel better. And then when they bought it, they're kind of feeling guilty, but they go, oh yeah, it's justified. And actually that old TV, I can put into the guest room. So that's typically how it works. So make sure to use an emotional hook to make them buy, but be very factual about why they bought it. So help them with that. It's kind of an interesting psychological part, but that's something I can really show you that works and tell you it really works. So the messaging should be simple, always simple. So simple messaging has a massive impact typically. And if you have an emotional messaging, there is more conversion. There is more conversion, no doubt about it. And as we spoke, always address the end result. So the transformation you are offering, not just the feature or the service. They don't care about the service as such. They don't even care about the price of the service. If you present it well, if you present the transformation in a really good way and show them how to solve a problem, they will actually buy the service because they can already feel the transformation. That means you made a good job, right? So do I have an example? Oh, I wrote something down here, but that's no. So Now, if you think that this knowledge I'm sharing here is powerful, that's good, but execution is everything, right? So execution, guys, let me have Barbara join me. That's great. Execution, guys, is everything. So knowledge is powerful, but execution is everything. If you want hands-on guidance to implement those strategies I'm sharing here, I'm opening up some limited spots for one-on-one coaching, which is rare, but I also have a group mastermind where we'll get direct support. Simply drop a yes in the chat or send an email to us if you're ready to have a free 30-minute orientation call and make it happen, right? So just feel free to send an email. You get a 30-minute free orientation call, and we'll make sure that you can step up and get the knowledge you're learning here into action and create the results you want. I told you about the stories. Now, when you write your brand message, what did we learn? It has to be emotionally engaging, right? And it has to be resonating. So again, even if I say it has to be emotionally engaging, it means it has to be targeted to your client. So I can't have a very emotional message if I'm in the fintech business, right? If I'm in the fintech business, I can still emotionalize the transformation I'm providing, but I have to stick to the language which is typically used in this industry, right? So just you have to play a bit with it to make it very clear. Now, very clear, your ideal client, you have to speak their language or you're going to lose them. So meaning really one of the key parts here is who is your client? Who's your ideal client? And then think about what messaging is for them. And it's always about them, right? If your audience doesn't see themselves in your words, they are not going to buy. So this, oh my God, that's me statement is the one that makes us typically react and buy. You can test it if you say, okay, what would my ideal client actually say when I present that to him? And let me repeat that. A confused customer will not buy. So a confused customer doesn't buy. So confusion doesn't create sales. So make your messaging clear that your audience feels seen, understood, and ready to take the action they need to take. So need to feel seen, understood, and ready to take action. If you don't tweak your messaging the right way, you will potentially lose them on the way. So now, what else do I want to share with you? Yes, now your brand visibility, right? Strategic marketing and positioning. Now in today's world, that's also a challenge because it's very crowded. But even the best businesses don't grow without visibility. So make sure you're visible. Now, the first decision to take here is, am I a B2B person? Am I serving businesses or am I serving consumers, right? And that's an interesting one. I serve both. I serve businesses and I serve consumers, but I do adapt my means and my tools and my language to either the business to business world or the business to consumer world. I do have another project on the side, which I love, which is in the dog world. The dog world is much more in the consumer space, but typically my business mentoring can be a B2C, meaning I have some solopreneurs, but I also have big entrepreneurs where it's clearly a B2B conversation to be held. What do you use in B2B? Typically, in B2B, it's very useful, even though it's changing at the moment, so we have to observe what's happening, to leverage LinkedIn. LinkedIn is useful because it's going to stay useful as well because it's a networking tool and a thought leadership tool. So if you know how to use LinkedIn, you can definitely get food for your thoughts. You can also learn about your ideal clients if you're in the B2B world. So leverage LinkedIn for the world of business, of B2B. For B2C, you can utilize social media. That can become very confusing, as we all know. You can also use influencer marketing and, of course, a direct consumer engagement. That's fun, right? But B2C obviously comes with an even more targeted or a more necessary way to kind of streamline and say, this is what I'm standing for, this is the value I create, this is the problems I solve, and this is the transformation I do offer. If you are able to deliver the message of transformation in the B2C world, it's amazing. You're going to have amazing results. By that, you also have to always look at, how do I optimize my online presence? So some people still argue, do I have to have a website or not? In my opinion, it is a very useful tool. It does give you credibility, because that's what you need. You need credibility. You also have to think about social media. How do you create consistent branding or an engaging content to get audience interaction, right? And then what's really, really useful is partnerships or collaborations, because you can profit from other people. I do that a lot on my summits. I do and I meet fantastic people who are in my space, and it's such a pleasure to actually work with them. And that's a very nice way to collaborate, but to also build partnerships and to potentially get some PR. So what's really important is step in and step up, be seen or be forgotten. So just remember that visibility equals growth. Without visibility, there's no growth. Now, if you should feel overwhelmed, just pick 2 power platforms, right? Where you think your ideal audience is actually hanging out, if I want to use that word. It's not where you feel comfortable. This is a really big, pay attention, right? Somebody my age, even that's not the case, might feel very comfortable on Facebook, which I'm not, but still, that's maybe not the right means for you. So don't go where you feel comfortable. You use at least two platforms where you are pretty convinced that your ideal audience is present. So you could, for example, for the B2C world, you could dominate on Instagram. For the B2B world, you could dominate on LinkedIn. But your business will not be able to grow if no one knows it exists and how it exists and what it transforms, right? And marketing, guys, is not only about throwing content out there. It's about getting in front of the right people in a way that they go, wait a minute, I want to actually take action, right? So they have to stop and say, wow, this is great. So this is how marketing works. So it's all connected to the first part of the session we just had. So how do you get them emotionally engaged? How do you present them with the transformation you provide? And how does your brand, your company, speak to those values and to those solutions they're looking for? You do not need to be everywhere. There are people who say you need to be everywhere. I'm just actually going through a next education program as a keynote speaker, and there's a guy who basically says you should be seen everywhere. As a keynote speaker, that's maybe a bit of a different, way, but I think you don't. Not if you have a very clear service, if you would speak to a very clear audience, choose your battles, but be there consistently. So being consistent is the magic of the game. You know how some people do those great blogs for like 3 months and then they stop. So, and then they have on their website, they have blogs which are 5 years old. Don't do that. So if you choose a communication channel, be there consistently, do it consistently. So I hope that supports, because marketing is one of those. I mean, I have lots and lots of content on marketing, and looking at my script here, I cannot even cover that with you because it's much too much. I want to go into something which is a bit of an iffy subject for a lot of people, but we do it. All of us do it every day, right? Now, don't get me wrong. We have to sell, right? We have to convert leads with confidence and consistency. Now, selling should feel like serving, and that's what it is. So it's not about pushing something down someone's throat. It's serving the other person on the other side. So it's the way to guide your clients to a yes. Now, how do we do that? Right? The first thing is we have to understand what the buyer actually, the buyer's journey. So there's 3 things we have to understand. awareness, right? So we have to recognize the problem. Do we recognize the problem he might have, but did he recognize the problem? So he has to recognize the problem. He then has to, and you could present the problem to him potentially, right? You then present him with potential solutions. So he actually starts exploring solutions. And then they choose the best provider. And that's you, right? That's how it's perfect, how it should work perfectly. And that does ask for a proven sales process, which is, I'm repeating myself now, but it's really important. Get this into your heads. You have to lead with value, not with features. It's not interesting, right? In the consumer goods world, for example, on a shampoo, you have to lead with a value, right? Either the woman feels much sexier using that shampoo, or her girlfriend is really fascinated that she's using this great shampoo, or the hairdresser, she goes to his really famous, and the name of this hairdresser is on the shampoo bottle. So there's a perceived value. I am not saying it must be a value you consider a value, but it must be the value to the other person. So be very, very clear. Again, don't look at a feature you're trying to provide. Look at what value your customer could see or will see in your product and what he's looking for. Now, objections is another thing. There is definitely training to be done, and I do that a lot. Overcoming objections is one of my favorite subjects. You typically overcome objections with education, meaning real training, right? You can practice all those objections, and there's a multitude of those. It's great. And obviously, in the B2C world, it also helps to have testimonials. But it also helps, if you have a recommendation, it also helps in the B2B world. And now, something really astounding, 80% of all sales happen only after a multitude of interactions. You will not believe how many people I have who are trying to sell something and then they give up after the first time. And I go, oh my God, I was rejected. I mean, that's not going to work. Or I didn't hear anything after I sent an email. And I didn't hear anything after I sent 2 emails. Now, I'm also in the mergers and acquisitions world. And for anybody who doesn't know, it's about selling and buying companies. So we have typically people come to us who are looking to sell their companies. Now we are looking for buyers. You will not believe how many emails we have to send to we then create a long list of the best potential buyers. So you can translate that into clients. I mean, sending 5 emails until we get a reaction, because what we try and do is get a reaction. Yes, this is an interesting project for us or not. It will take at least 5 emails. So you have to definitely keep, asking and keep going after those people. You need multiple interactions. Rome was not built in one day, and that's one of those things. So 80% of all sales happen after multiple interactions. Now, nurturing those leads is really, really important. So keep, send an email, create content, create in the B2B world, create posts, use your know-how to share free know-how, share free tips. That's something which will keep you top of mind. That will definitely facilitate your sales process. You can obviously, going back to our branding from before and the transformation you're going to create, you can build a small sales script that positions you as the solutions to your client's problem, right? So that's really important. Once you understood the solution, that you're solving his problem, you can build a small sales script about that. Now, there is, I built I have a quick fix here, but let me, you have to sell it like you mean it. And I put down a sentence which I sometimes use, and maybe it's helpful for you. So you have to lead with confidence, and you have to sell it like you mean it. You cannot be kind of in doubt. Am I really doing that? Am I really able to do this? Does my product really? I have a client in a very complex industry, in the electric industry, so batteries and stuff. And he is like dancing around. I mean, I'm not sure. And you know what? It's not even the head which realizes person across from him will realize that he is not really sure about what he's selling. So you have to totally sell it like you mean it. That is one of the most important tips I can give you in terms of sales. Don't try to sell it if you don't mean it. Now, here is an example. So I would say I help entrepreneurs ditch inconsistent revenue and finally build a business that attracts premium clients and grows sustainably with easy strategic positioning and sales mastery. So it has a very clear, it talks to a problem, it has a very clear value to the client, and it addresses the client directly, who in this case is an entrepreneur. Sales is not about convincing, it's about serving, again, right? The best sales strategies help you and help everybody to guide the customer from I'm kind of interested. You know how those goes, right? And so I'm kind of interested. This is not the point. Nobody buys with I'm kind of interested. Somebody will only buy if they go, I need this now, right? So this is what you have to strive for. And that's one of my very, very crucial points. Now, if you think this is a lot of context and a lot of content, again, I'm offering a free 30-minute free orientation call. You can just leave a yes in the comment box here, or you can basically send us an email. And I'm happy to have a 30-minute free consultation call. We have one-on-one coachings with limited spaces, but we also have group coachings where we help solve. And in a group, it's also super nice and super dynamic to solve each other's challenges, and it works brilliantly. So please feel free to contact me. Now, understanding your buyer's journey, I did speak about that. Also, the other thing is, do not be focused on the outcome. So do not go into a sales situation where you go, oh, I have to do this. This has to work. This has to work. It's not working. If somebody feels your desperation, it's the same as if they feel like you're not standing behind your service or product. So do make yourself in. You can do your best. You studied your client. You're with your ideal client. You have understood his problem. You're creating the value he is looking for. You have a transformation you can offer him. Now, frankly, don't try and push it down their throat, okay? It's really important that you kind of let go of the outcome. You be yourself, you be really authentic, because you know that you can provide the value you're promising to provide, and that's the way people are going to buy. Now, what's really actually, especially in my profession, and I think for most of you, actually, we sell ourselves every day even to our spouses, right? But what is the difference here is there's confidence and trust. So confidence sells, but also trust sells. So people buy from people they trust. So it's your job to make people trust you. It's your job to have confidence. It's to build the confidence with somebody for somebody, and it's really, really important that you come across with confidence, but that you are trusted. And what do you do to be trusted? You have to mirror. If now you know your ideal client, you mirror their language, you repeat their words back to you, right? So you could say, oh, you just mentioned in the last 2 sentences, you're struggling with sales. Here is an approach I have for you to solve that, right? So you can also lead with questions. And the most important part in selling is not the talking part, guys. It's the listening part. So listen. I cannot tell you often enough, selling is about listening and really taking what you're hearing and converting that to a value you provide. That's really super essential. So listen, understand what their biggest challenge is, and then provide the transformation and the solution. Now, you've learned a lot of strategies, right? So let's implement them. So if you want to attend my private coaching, let me know. It's exclusive spots, or also we can do that in a results-driven group program, which is super effective as well. So we also, and I don't want to go into detail, we have 7 minutes left, but I am going to cover that in tomorrow's call anyway. So you have to set clear goals and key KPIs. For anybody who doesn't know what a KPI is, it's a key performance indicator. It's key metrics to track. So for example, you have to track your revenue and your profit margins. You definitely have to track your conversion rates. Customer retention is one of the other ones. You have to track. Anything you don't measure, you don't master. So that's very simple. So in order to thrive in a business, in order to make your business thrive, you have to measure it to master it, right? So measure it. There are some very simple systems, and that's something I really work on with all my clients, because some of them get lost in, dashboards full of items. What is actually the action item coming out of that dashboard, right? That's the question. So you have to measure what you can actually take action against. So that's a really important point. Don't build this complex system. Just measure the key performance indicators and measure those where you can take massive action to actually create a change in the result. Yes, we're going to talk about goals tomorrow. I'm just looking at my script here. Yep. Okay. Let me see. Yes. Okay. Now, I want to repeat what we actually learned today. We looked into how important branding is. We looked into the fact that you have to serve your clients. You're not serving yourself. You're not presenting yourself. You're presenting a solution to your clients' problems or a fulfillment of your clients' desires. So make sure you adapt your language to that. Provide a messaging that's emotionally engaging, that actually makes sure you can bridge the emotion with the facts, right? And make sure that you define your ideal client and the client you want to serve, because only this way you can create the messaging and serve the people to the best extent. On sales, remember, 80% of all sales need multiple interaction, multiple touch points. So make sure you follow that. Don't lose your nerve if it doesn't work the first, second, or even third time. Just keep going. Just, mix it up a bit. Don't make yourself independent of the outcome. So, and remember, you're serving your client. You're not selling your client. You're serving your client. It's in your client's interest to buy what you have to offer because it actually solves a problem for him or fulfills a desire. If you do this, if you only take this home from today's today's hour, you're already right up there, right? And at the end of the day, you have to measure. You have to measure, take some key. I start with my clients. I typically do the ones who don't have them in place. I start with maximum 3 to 5 KPIs. Those 3 to 5 KPIs must be key performance indicators, which do allow to take actionable items, to take action against them. So don't create some fantasy KPI. We want something we can measure and we can act upon. And if you do that, you will be right up there with really successful entrepreneurs, because all of what I've covered today, maybe 30% of all people I've met in my whole career, which has been quite a long one, I maybe addressing 30% of that. And so if you get 50% right already, you're going to be right up there. So I think this masterclass has given you a roadmap. Now it's really time to accelerate your growth. So if you want tailored feedback and strategies for your business and to scale faster, obviously I have those 2 ways I can work with you: limited space on one-to-one or in a group call. But if you want to, we can first have an orientation call of 30 minutes, which is for free. You can book that on via email, or you can also leave a comment in a comment box here. And tomorrow at the same time, we are going to start into day 2, and we are going to cover from vision to victory, right? So we are going to look into some effortless systems which actually allow you to have a flawless execution with ease, because the magic is not in the thinking, the magic is in the doing. So we want to make sure that you get some systems you can really put into place and have a flawless execution to make this your business take off. So thank you very much for attending. Should you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comment box or keep them for tomorrow. We'll have a small Q&A after day 2. I think it's more useful to have it after day 2. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Goodbye.